My fiancée left our 3-year-old son home alone and disappeared because my sister encouraged her to run away, but after 2 years, she's back, and I told her she'll never see our son again. 2 years ago, I came home after a 10-hour shift and found my life shattered. My fiancée, who I had been with for 5 years, had simply left. She disappeared, taking everything that was hers and leaving nothing behind. She took her passport, her camera, her journals, even some furniture. What she didn't take was our 3-year-old son, which was the worst part, because she left him alone. He was in the middle of our living room, which was now half empty, holding his toy truck, and all I could think was, this is a robbery. It wasn't. In fact, it was worse. I called her and went straight to voicemail. Not just once, but many times. I messaged her, I begged, I went to her sister's house. Nothing. That night, I couldn't rest. My son kept asking where mommy was. I told him she'd gone to buy groceries, I told him she'd be back soon. I lied to protect him because I didn't want to admit that I had no idea what the hell had happened. The next morning, I started calling hospitals, the police, her job, her friends. Her mother finally called me the following night, crying, saying she had just heard from her and that she was okay, but she needed space. That was all she said. I reminded her that she left her son alone in the house. That wasn't a valid answer. I asked if she was coming back. Silence. I asked if she was safe. She replied, she's fine. And then, click. I tried everything. I called daily. I messaged her on all her social media. I even begged her sister to show her a video of our son asking for her. Nothing. Eventually, she blocked me everywhere. I even drove 3 hours to her mother's house and nobody answered the door. I was left alone with a toddler, a full-time job, and an apartment that looked like a crime scene, but I didn't have time to break down. My son needed food, he needed daycare, he needed someone to read him bedtime stories. So I did it. It was a huge sacrifice, but I did it for my son. I asked for help where I could. My parents became my lifeline. My mom watched him while I worked overtime. My dad picked him up from daycare. My sister, despite her busy schedule, helped when she could. Every time my son asked where mommy was, I wanted to tell him the truth about how his mother abandoned both of us without a single explanation. But I didn't. I just told him, mommy can't be here right now. And every time I said it, I felt like it was more and more a lie I was also telling myself. I moved us to a smaller place. I put away all photos of her, removed every trace, rebuilt everything. I even applied for sole custody based on abandonment laws. Since she completely disappeared and didn't even try to contact her son for over a year, the court granted it. Then, 2 years later, last week, she had the audacity to show up at my job. She waited until I was on my break and then appeared. She looked like a completely different person. New hair, new clothes, new attitude, like she stepped right out of an influencer's account. When I saw her, I froze. I was thinking about what I was going to eat, not finding my ex standing there. I just turned around and went back inside. She followed me to the back. I should have told her to leave. I should have called security. But a part of me wanted to hear the explanation she had prepared. I thought after 2 years, she owed me at least that. She said she wanted to talk. She said she had been in therapy, had done a lot of healing work. But the reason she gave for disappearing was, I got scared. She said she felt trapped, felt her identity was fading, couldn't breathe. She said the idea of being a mother and wife, forever, made her feel like she was dying inside, and mentioned she had emotional breakdowns and many panic attacks alone. Then came the real blow. She claimed that right before leaving, she had a long conversation with my sister, to whom I've entrusted my son's life. And according to her, my sister encouraged her to leave. She said my sister told her, you're too young to be trapped. You can still start over. People fall in love and out of love all the time. Don't get trapped before it's too late. After that, I turned around and left. She tried to call out to me, but I didn't turn around. I went straight to the floor manager and told him not to let her into the store ever again. That night, I told my parents everything. My dad almost punched a wall and my mom started crying. She used to call her her second daughter. She treated her like part of the family. That's over now. My dad told me if she ever comes near our son, he'll call the police. My mom agreed. I haven't confronted my sister yet. I want to, but I want to calm down first. I don't know what's true. I don't want to believe she'd encourage someone to abandon their own child. It could be a lie from my ex, but I can't ignore it either. As for my ex, she has been messaging me constantly since then, pages and pages about how she wants to rebuild the relationship. She wants to use the excuse that her son needs a mother, when before she didn't seem worried when she left and abandoned him. So far, it's all me, and no apologies. But here's what she doesn't seem to understand. She made a choice and I made one too. Unlike her, when things got tough, I chose to stay. I chose to be a father and didn't abandon my son alone at home. I chose to fight for that child every day. And now she thinks she can just knock on the door and I'll let her in like it's her right. It's not. She'll never be a part of this family again. Not after what she did. And if she thinks I'm going to give up even a small portion of parental rights without a fight, she's in for a very rude awakening. I don't know what she expected with this. That I'd say, "It's great you're back," and kiss her feet. What she did is bad enough to file a police report. I don't have proof she abandoned him at home, but that could change if I reply to her messages. I still don't know what to do. I'm going to calm down a bit and see how it all plays out. Update 1. Many told me not to give her the time of day, which is basically my plan right now. Others advised me to get a lawyer immediately, which I already did. Some asked for more updates on my story, which is what I'm going to do. I confronted my sister the morning after I posted. I didn't warn her or send a message saying I was coming. I just showed up at her house while my son was at daycare. I knocked on the door like I would have if everything was normal, just to see if she got nervous. She didn't look guilty, so I guess she didn't know everything that had happened. That changed quickly. I asked her directly, "Did you tell my ex to leave me?" She acted confused. "What are you talking about?" I stood there looking at her until she broke eye contact. That's when the cracks showed. She invited me in. She tried to act natural. She finally admitted they had a conversation a few weeks before my ex left. She said they had been messaging each other about life, the pressure of being parents, and the stress of marriage. My sister claimed it wasn't serious, just a chat between girls. But then she said this. "I told her if I were in her shoes, I probably would have left before getting married." I swear, hearing her say that out loud made me want to break her designer coffee table. Anyway, I asked her if she knew my ex had plans to leave. She said no. I asked her if she ever thought about how those words might impact someone, telling someone who was already on the verge of abandoning their child and partner that she would leave too. She got defensive, said she didn't know it would go that far, that she was just being honest, that my ex was already in that mindset and looking for excuses. My sister insists she didn't tell her to abandon our son, but for me, there's no way to justify it. I feel like she plunged the biggest knife she could find into my back. She let me suffer for 2 years without saying a word about that conversation, and she just stayed quiet and didn't say anything. She tried to justify it by saying she didn't think it would matter after my ex left, that it wouldn't change anything, and that she didn't want to add fuel to the fire. I told her I didn't want to see her for a long time, not out of spite, but because it infuriated me how stupidly she hid this from me. She apologized, she cried, and I didn't comfort her. I just left. This next part might make some people think I'm cold, but I need to say it clearly. I don't forgive her. Now, the other part of my update. Yesterday afternoon, my ex came to my house. My son was home. He was sleeping, thank God. I opened the door just enough to block her view inside. She looked me in the eye and tried to walk past me like she belonged there. I put my foot in the door and said, "Don't." She stopped and then started her emotional outburst. She said she just wanted to see our son, that she missed him, that she couldn't stop thinking about us. I told her she had a lot of nerve, that showing up like this was out of line. She said she had no one else to turn to emotionally, that she had been in therapy, that she had a stable job and wanted to rebuild the relationship. I asked her where that energy was 2 years ago. She looked down and said she felt she didn't deserve to be a mother after what she did, which I agree with. That seeing me raise our son alone made her feel small, guilty, and ashamed. But guilt doesn't undo the damage. Guilt doesn't feed a child. Guilt doesn't hug him when he's scared or take him to the hospital when he has a fever. I did all that alone. She didn't even send a card, and now she wants shared custody? Let me be clear, that's not happening. I told her we wouldn't have any more personal conversations, that if she wants to apply for custody, she can do it through the court system. She started crying harder, asking how I could be so cold. I told her that's what happens when you abandon your child and disappear for 2 years. Actions have consequences, and you can't cut in line just because you suddenly found yourself. I closed the door in her face. Before closing it, I told her to get off my porch and not to knock again or I'd call the police, which was obviously an empty threat, but I didn't want the noise to wake my son. This morning I called a lawyer. He was calm and frankly more optimistic than I expected. He said I have a solid case if she takes this to court. He said the abandonment window of over 730 days is definitive. And even if she files a lawsuit, there's a high probability the court will side with me unless she shows sustained effort, change, and stability, which she hasn't done. He advised me to stop responding to her directly, document everything, texts, calls, visits, and keep communication strictly legal. If this goes that route, I'm following that advice. Then came another surprise. My mom told me my ex didn't come to me first. She went to her. Apparently, 2 weeks ago, she contacted her asking if she thought it would be okay to surprise me and reunite the family. She even asked if I was seeing someone, like it was some romantic movie where she could just show up and pick up where she left off. My mom shut her down. She told her she wasn't welcome, that I had already moved on and was doing fine without her, that she was an irresponsible mother and had hurt her grandson's little heart. Only after that did she come to see me. My mother told her to stay away from me and her grandson. So let me say this. I don't trust a word that comes out of her mouth. She thought time had stood still. She thought I'd be waiting. But I'm not. Update 2. Well, she filed for visitation. 2 days ago, a process server showed up at my door while I was getting my son ready for daycare. I opened the door and knew immediately it wasn't a package. He handed me the envelope and said, "You've been served." I already had a feeling she might try something, especially after showing up at my house, trying to cry her way into seeing our son. She's seeking legal rights to a child she abandoned for over 2 years. She's asking for supervised visits to start, which in theory sounds reasonable to anyone who doesn't know the whole story. But in the filing, there's a whole sympathy essay, how she struggled with postpartum depression, how she felt helpless, and how she left for mental health reasons, not to abandon her child. None of that matches reality. First, she left when our son was 3. He wasn't an infant. Second, there were no hospitalizations, no diagnosis, no pleas for help, not calling my parents, not messaging friends, not even looking for support online. She just left, disappeared, and then ignored me and everyone, including our son. I immediately called my lawyer and sent him everything. The papers, the cover letter, screenshots of our messages or lack thereof, Facebook posts, what she's been doing since she reappeared and unblocked me. He's confident. In his words, this is abandonment. He explained that in our state, 2 years without contact automatically qualifies as parental abandonment, especially when there's no child support, no attempts through legal means, no mitigating circumstances like hospitalization or incarceration. She can't just waltz back into a child's life because she suddenly feels like a mother again. But here's where it got really twisted. She's not doing this alone. My lawyer mentioned there was another name on the legal documents, her fiancé's. Apparently, he's the one funding all of this. And not just with money. He's a paralegal at a law firm specializing in family law. Yes, the guy she got engaged to last year, who works at the same kind of firm that handles cases like this. I don't know why she was asking if I was in a relationship or what she was thinking about me when she was already engaged. Manipulation and more manipulation. And this guy messaged me. He had the audacity to send me a long, condescending message via Facebook, which I then deleted and blocked, telling me he respected my position as the custodial parent, but thought I was letting bitterness cloud my judgment. He said my ex deserved a path to redemption, and that my son has a right to know his biological mother. Well, no, my son has a right to be safe, happy, loved, and primarily not to be abandoned. That's what he's entitled to. And none of that includes being used as an emotional object for a woman who left without a word and now wants to waltz back into his life because her new man encouraged her to fight for what's hers. I didn't respond because that's exactly what these people are trying to do. They're provoking me. They want me to explode in messages, to leave a paper trail they can use in court to paint me as irrational or incapable. I'm not falling for their trap. We're doing everything by the book. No direct contact, everything documented. My lawyer is building a comprehensive history. Message logs, timeline of absences, witness statements, everything. My parents are ready to testify. Even her own mother, the same one who called me crying 2 years ago, sent me a private message apologizing for what her daughter is putting me through. She said she doesn't support this fight, but won't speak publicly against it for family reasons. At least it's something. And then comes my sister. She sent my ex a message where she apologized, told her she never meant to lead her astray back then, that she thought she was just helping her vent and never expected her to leave forever. But then she went further. She said she admired her courage for coming back and trying to reconnect with her son. They're talking again. I found out from screenshots my lawyer got of her public activity, likes, comments, hearts on photos. This is the same sister who helped me pack up my ex's things when we finally accepted she wasn't coming back. The same sister who watched my son when I worked night shifts, who sat with me and kept me company after I told my son his mom wasn't coming home. And now she's calling that woman brave? She's out of her mind. I called her to tell her exactly how I felt, that it's not her place to forgive someone for abandoning a child that isn't hers, that she has no right to play peacemaker when she never had to pick up the pieces. She tried to turn it around by saying she was thinking about the future, how this might affect my son long term if I keep him away from his mother. Let me tell you something right now. My son is thriving. He's not asking about her. He doesn't have memory gaps or nightmares or behavior problems. Do you know what really affects kids? Instability, abandonment, sudden reintroductions of people they can't trust. And I'm not going to let that happen to him because a bunch of adults are trying to clear their consciences. This isn't bitterness, it's boundaries, and the difference matters. Next week, we have our first mediation session. My lawyer says we should expect her to bring the whole poor me story. Probably pictures, maybe letters. Definitely some version of, I was broken, but now I'm healed. It's all strategy. She's trying to create the appearance of effort, but we have the real history. A judge isn't going to care about fake Facebook posts or the guilt she claims to feel. They'll care about the actions. Funny, she didn't have any for over 700 days. Update third court day was today, or rather mediation day. But don't let the word mediation fool you into thinking it was a calm, collaborative meeting with coffee. She arrived early, much earlier than I expected, and made a show of it as soon as she entered the building. She was dressed in white. A full white dress. Like she was an angel, when in reality she's the biggest devil I've ever encountered. White shoes, nails done, hair curled, a stuffed giraffe in one hand, and a stack of the photos in the other. One of the staff told her mediation hadn't started yet, and she actually said, "That's okay. I just want to make sure he sees I didn't come here to fight." My lawyer leaned over and told me she was already playing the sympathy card. She kept walking around the waiting area, talking to her fiancé like they were rehearsing lines. I didn't speak to her. I stayed quiet, sitting next to my lawyer, going over the file we had prepared. It had 2 years of calendars, call logs, screenshots, and photos of my son's milestones. Every moment she missed. All organized, dated, printed, and bound. When we were called in, she smiled at me like we were old friends, reconnecting after a misunderstanding. I didn't smile. She tried to hand me the stuffed animal. My lawyer stepped between us and said, "No direct contact." The mediator was neutral, but clearly not new to this. He started with the standard procedure, a summary of the issue, the custody status. Then he asked if either party wanted to say anything before moving on to the facts. She jumped in immediately. She said she'd like to start by apologizing, that she had made the biggest mistake of her life. She began a long, rehearsed-sounding explanation about how she panicked, said she never stopped thinking about our son, that she felt ashamed. Then the lies started. I regretted it the next day. She regretted it the next day and still disappeared for 2 years. Not only is she lying, she also enjoys spreading that garbage everywhere to contaminate everything. The mediator asked her directly, "Did you make any attempts to contact the child or the father during that time?" She hesitated, then said she didn't think she had the right, that she knew she'd be rejected, that she wanted to wait until she could come back with something to offer. My lawyer asked if she contacted any court, therapist, or legal service during that time. She admitted she hadn't. He asked if she had blocked me. She said yes, but only because she couldn't bear to see what she had left behind. He nodded and said, "So you disappeared from your son's life out of guilt?" She replied, "I didn't mean to disappear. I just didn't know how to come back. Give me a break. Like you don't know how to come back? You need a compass?" I know she lost her moral compass a long time ago, but this was pure nonsense. Then it was my turn. I told her I had no objection to someone trying to fix their life, but that doesn't mean they can waltz back into a child's life like nothing happened. That my son is happy, thriving, stable, because he's surrounded by people who were there for him, people who didn't fall apart when things got tough. I told her she walked out the door, leaving him alone for hours, and never looked back. And now that she has a support system, now that she's recovered, she wants to play the comeback story. I told her we felt sorry for her, but this is a child's life. I showed them the documentation. We even brought a letter from my son's pediatrician confirming constant appointments, healthy development, and no secondary guardians listed at any time. There's no question who the real parent has been here. Then came the little surprise from her fiancé. He tried to speak and said he wanted to clarify that he encouraged her to do the right thing by coming back, that she's in a better place and is just trying to reconnect in a healthy way, that her desire for supervised visits is a sign of humility, not manipulation. And lastly, that he was her character witness to show she can be a good mother. My lawyer quickly interrupted him. You are not a party to this proceeding, and you don't even have the formal education to be a lawyer. I don't know what you're doing here. You can submit statements, but you don't speak. And so he went back to being a paralegal, not the white knight he thought he was. We ended with both sides being instructed to avoid contact until the next mediation session, pending further investigation. But here's what stuck with me. As we left, I saw her looking upset, agitated in a way I hadn't seen before. Her confidence had gone down the drain. I think she expected something else from this, like she'd walk in, cry a little, give me the stuffed animal, and we'd all stomp our feet and applaud her personal growth. Maybe I wasn't very clear before, but I'm not giving in. I'm not bitter anymore. I'm not even angry. I'm just done. Done being manipulated, being blamed, or being emotionally attacked. She can't just come back and expect the title of mom to be waiting for her just because she misses the feeling. Parenthood isn't a role you dust off when you think you're ready. I wasn't ready, and I had to fill all the roles for my son. My son still doesn't know what's happening, and he won't. Not until something is final. I protect his peace above all else. He has a life full of love, structure, and people who show up. I'm not going to let anyone threaten that, not even the woman who brought him into the world. We have another session in 2 weeks, and we're already preparing for it. Update 4. Before I start, people have asked if I think I'm my son's father, that I should get a DNA test. I appreciate the advice, but it's late. I did that months after she left and confirmed it. Anyway, I love that people are helping and giving advice. I didn't expect most people to agree with my fight, but it's good not to be alone in this. We received the court's decision this morning. After all the abandonment, the lies, the sudden reappearance, and the false story of her transformation, it's finally over. She was denied visitation completely, not even supervised visits. The judge ruled in favor of me retaining sole, legal, and physical custody of our son. He emphasized the term egregious abandonment several times. He said her attempt to re-enter his life now, after 2 years of absolute silence, showed more signs of guilt, image repair, and a need for control than genuine maternal instinct. The court didn't buy her transformation act. After reviewing the evidence we presented, the lack of contact, the absence of birthday cards, the lack of court filings, the sudden reappearance conveniently aligned with a new fiancé and a new legal strategy. She cried loudly in court. Did that face-covering gesture like she was being attacked, like she was the victim? But nobody rushed to comfort her. Not the judge, not the mediator, and not even her fiancé. Speaking of him, he left without a word. Maybe he thought he could help her win some kind of public redemption. Maybe he saw this as a passion project, or maybe he thought they'd get custody and could make a family together. Whatever it was, it's over. The court gave her a chance to ask for it again in 2 years, but only if she meets 3 conditions. A complete psychiatric evaluation with a recommendation for long-term therapy. A state-approved parenting program that includes in-person classes, not just online modules. Tangible and verifiable evidence of long-term stability, employment, housing, no erratic behavior, and most importantly, constant attempts at court-approved supervised communication through proper channels. In short, she has to rebuild everything she broke from scratch and do it the right way. I walked out of that courtroom feeling like I could finally breathe. My son was at daycare, laughing, playing, living his life, and now I know he's protected, legally, emotionally, and physically, from any fantasy she thought she could force her way back in with. But apparently, it wasn't the end for her. That same night, she came to my house again. I heard knocking on the door right after 9 p.m. I wasn't expecting anyone. When I looked through the peephole and saw her there, I felt physically sick. She was standing there holding that same stuffed animal from the mediation, the one she tried to give my son, as if that could erase 2 years of abandonment. I didn't open the door. I just turned off the porch lights and waited. She stayed for 2 hours, sitting on the porch in the cold. I checked back later and she was gone, but she left a note taped to the door. It said, "I lost everything again." I didn't come to fight. I just wanted to hug my son one last time. That part, one last time, stuck with me, because the truth is, she already had her last time. She chose it when she packed up and left us without even a goodbye. What a shame. I showed the note to my parents. They called the police. A report was filed, but she was already gone when they arrived. My lawyer is already drafting a no-contact order, so if she comes back to the house, the police won't wait next time. She's not going to use my front door as a stage for regret. That era is over. I've changed my number. My son is 5 now. He's funny, he's loud, and he has a big laugh and a weird obsession with dinosaurs, but it doesn't seem weird. A lot of kids have that when they're little. Apparently, he sleeps through the night most of the time. He knows his bedtime story by heart and corrects me when I get the words wrong. He doesn't remember her anymore, and he doesn't ask. He's surrounded by people who love him, my parents, his teachers, my co-workers who leave him little gifts and snacks just because he's growing up in a world where he's wanted every day, and that's what matters. I've also started dating again, slowly. I don't bring anyone near my son. Learned that lesson the hard way. But I'm figuring things out, little by little. I don't know what her life is like now. I don't care if she stays with her fiancé, if she ends up alone, if she writes Facebook posts about her pain. None of that affects me. We are doing well. As for my lawsuit against her, for leaving him alone, I never had the chance for a confession. It's my word against hers. Anyway, my lawyer is still working, and the next thing is a lawsuit for abandonment, followed by a lawsuit for back child support and what she'll pay in the future. I don't need the money, but I also can't let her get away with doing all of this. Part of me would have preferred she just stayed away. It seems like she just wants to cause pain and wasn't happy with what she did 2 years ago. Update 5. During this time, I was debating whether to do small updates, do them in comments or edits, or wait until I had a final closing or whatever you want to call it to post here. And the last option won, so here's everything I've wanted to write and haven't done in this time. For example, my sister, whom I haven't spoken to and probably won't speak to again. I'm still angry with her, but apparently she's also angry with me. Not happy with what she did, she thinks she has the right to see me as the bad guy because she considers me an irrational person. My parents have also limited contact with her. It's not something I mentioned in my previous post with all the mess with the legal aspects, but my parents and my sister had several strong conversations. She thinks it wasn't that serious and that I should give my ex a chance to see her son, and my parents think otherwise. As far as I know, my ex has canceled her engagement, but I don't know who canceled whom. I know that because my sister told my parents as a way to make her seem like the victim whose life my stubbornness has ruined, since now she not only can't see her son, but she's also lost her partner. Well, sister, I don't care. Next time you'd better worry about that victim, and don't give her advice that ruins her life. Maybe more maternal advice would have helped. That would have saved you from our parents taking you out of the will. We have already concluded the lawsuit, and the outcome is as positive as this can be. It's not that I'm happy to win the lawsuit, that money isn't going to make a difference. But I also wasn't going to let a manipulative, lying woman capable of abandoning a child, who had the selfishness to come back only because of what she felt, get away with it. I know some people will see me as the bad guy. They already did in my previous update. To those people, I ask, do you think she wanted to be a mother now? Does she still have a chance to try by contacting through legal means? Do you think she has tried? Absolutely not. She never cared about her son. She just woke up one day, thought her life was missing a child, and remembered she had one. Nothing she did was out of concern for him, only for her own selfish desires. She was selfish a few years ago. She's been selfish now, and nothing you say to defend her, make her look better, or even twist things to make me look like the guilty one will change that. Nor am I going to do the opposite and follow some very vengeful advice, like making my son call my girlfriend Mom. She has met him, and they get along well. I'll make sure of that because it's important that my son accepts my girlfriend, but there's a big difference in forcing him to call her Mother. My focus was always on protecting my son. I'm not going to put him in this situation just to feel better that he's already forgotten her or something. He practically doesn't remember her, so nothing changes. And yes, I've also talked to him about his mother, and he hasn't cared much. I don't know if he's not old enough to fully understand it and will ask more questions in the future, or if he simply doesn't care. My ex can still try again. Something she can do in 2026 when the 2 years are up. Whether she does or not remains to be seen, as well as the possibility I posted about. Nothing has changed so far, and nothing seems like it will change, so the outcome will likely be very similar to my previous post. If that's the case, and you don't hear from me, this is my final farewell, and my thanks for reading about my case for weeks. You don't know how much you help, even though we don't see each other face to face, that you're here supporting.